There he is. Hey, Matt.
Hey, Ray.
Good to see you.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having me on. I started to say that's a real good cliffhanger. Like I'm on and I'm gone. I'm the ghost guest all of a sudden, and then I should just never come back in, and then we'll never know what happened to that guy.
I know, right? Well, you started saying what I really want to know is, and then you froze.
Oh,
And I
that's
want to
even
know
better.
what you really wanted to know.
I really want to know what you think about drafting Mac Jones.
About, oh, well, I don't, I haven't sat down and really thought about it. I'm still Bruins just made it to the playoffs. So I'm thinking about
Congratulations.
Bruins and the Red Sox, of course. I always have hope for the Red Sox, but it's been tough the last couple of years.
Yeah.
All I can say is I know Belichick is doing what he's supposed to do.
Yep.
He's a smart guy. That's why he gets paid a lot of money. So for me to say anything,
Hmm.
I'm waiting for Julian Edelman to head down to Tampa Bay.
Tampa. Yep.
That's what I'm waiting for, and I know it's gonna. Everyone's like, he can't. He's hurt. He's not coming back. Well,
Hmm.
Gronk said he wasn't coming back either.
Right. Right.
Now, are you
Yeah.
a Patriots fan?
Actually, don't cancel my subscription. I'm a longtime Yankees fan,
It's
but
okay.
I'm a fan of excellence, and so I have watched and appreciated the Patriots for a long time because there's no organization like them. And credit to Brady. I mean, he goes down to Tampa Bay, and no, maybe he's the only one that saw that coming. You know,
Yeah.
in terms of getting a ring, but yeah, I'm really interested to see what they do because it is Brady's special, but it is a top notch organization, and we'll see what they do. It's like the Warriors trying to bounce back too.
I felt the same way about the Yankees, and I hope I don't get tarred and feathered for that saying that here in New England. But when a crowd would chant "Yankees suck," I never understood that
Hmm.
because the Yankees were a winning team. I don't know how they did this year, but when
Yeah,
New England was chanting this at games, the Yankees were beating us. So they
yeah,
don't really suck. It's a top notch organization with top notch players.
yeah, yeah. It's so strange that I remember that like that was amazing. I was watching that in a bar when they were two outs down and Mariano gave that up, and all of a sudden they went from three games up. Like, what a terrible piece of history to be a part of if you're the Yankees. But I'm really glad I watched it because it was history, and that
Yeah,
really was the turning point. I mean, Boston broke through. So strange, like the last couple of years, how it was dismal, for
yeah.
such for the level of people that they have there in the organization. Those things I don't understand about what happens internally and how to play the numbers game and all of that.
Yeah, and we struck twice with the Red Sox and the Patriots, so we enjoyed a good 20 years
Yeah.
of winning teams. The Celtics here and there, the Bruins, and now it just seems to have all gone away.
We'll see what the Bruins can do.
It's someone else's turn now.
Yeah.
So I recently binged, well, maybe 6 7 months ago. I recently binged Dog Impossible and really
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
Oh, thank
It's
you.
it's a different show, and why don't we explain how it started? Because it started as your profession first,
Hmm.
and then National Geographic came calling and said, "Let's do a show around this." Now you're on IMDb as an actor, so some might say, "Oh, they put this show together." Not
Right.
the case.
No, not the case.
Let's start. Let's start at the beginning. You had a tremendous fear of dogs.
Yeah. Yeah. Growing up, I was bit on Halloween when I was a kid. And my parents dressed me up in a Richard Nixon mask and a suit. Like it was a total setup. And I went to get a treat from a guy who had a German Shepherd, and the Shepherd's tail was wagging. And at the time, I thought wagging means happy. And I reached and I got bit. And then for the next 30 years, I was afraid of dogs. So I end up, there's plenty of story there, but I end up working out of my home with my wife, who still married me, and then we opened a facility, and the niche became aggression, oddly enough. And as you can imagine, there's a massive underserved community of people that have dogs that have aggression issues.
Yeah.
So that kind of became our jam, and we had LA being LA, and us doing what we did with the kind of dogs we did. We had a lot of celebrity clients, and then one of them went public about us having her dog, and 2 hours later, I got a phone call saying, "Hey, would you be interested in doing a show?" And that was probably a 2 year process before we actually got onto air. But man, my life changed in ways I could not have imagined.
Now the Zen Dog is still operational. You're still
Well,
working.
as a business, we shut down for COVID response. We shut down March 19th of last year and have not yet reopened the facility.
Oh,
And
wow.
I don't know what I'm doing on the ground there, but I've got friends and family out here in Texas. So we rolled out and rented a place out here, and my family's out here with me. And now I'm just going back and forth and trying to see what I can do and where I can be of service.
Wow. Let's talk about, you don't like saying training. I brought that up earlier. You'd rather refer to it as teaching. You're teaching a dog, not training a dog. What
Thank
is
you,
the
Larry.
difference?
For me, both philosophically and practically, if I'm being taught something, it's somebody else's information. That generally the way we teach is take the information so that you can achieve set goal, but that doesn't mean that it's mine. And if I come back to like that, to the Brady Belichick example, that playbook was Brady's. May not have come from him, but he knew that in and out better than anybody on the field, to the point where he could question Belichick, which probably nobody else can or does. So if I'm teaching, what I'm teaching is intended for, in a way, and the material, it's intended for it to be yours, so that when I'm not there, you can make decisions. And that's a really fascinating thing about dogs, is they have the capacity to choose. We got to set them up to make good choices, but they have the capacity to choose. And the more they practice the agency of choosing, the more sustainable and the better the results are going to be. And so that's really what I'm after. How do I set you up to choose, and I get out of the way? And that's where I like to think about teaching.
Yeah. And we see a lot of trainers, we'll just use trainers as a general term,
Yeah.
using instruments to train the dog, touching the dog a lot. These are practices you don't use.
Generally, no. I think some of it's just out of being dumb along the way. There was a gear that would have made my life a lot easier. But the reality is that a lot of people that came to me, their dogs didn't respond to a lot of the conventional things, and I needed to figure out something on the fly. And it really stretched my abilities. I could generally help a dog with just a leash and nothing else, and sometimes even without a leash. And so that is a hard-earned and really useful skill to have, to be able to meet dogs where they're at.
Talk about Kingston. Kingston was a very important dog in your life.
Oh yeah, appreciate that. Kingston's still balling. He's blind and deaf and 13 years old, and just doesn't stop. And I met him. I was still afraid of dogs. Moved in with my now ex-girlfriend at the time, and I was getting clean and sober. And so, I had some cleaning up to do, and she would work and I'd stay home with Kingston, and he would attack me, and, and I would scream. But bit by bit, I started figuring out how to take care of this dog, because he had to go out and go to the bathroom and get outside into the world. And he got me out of my head and out into the world. And that's kind of in a nutshell what a dog can do. We do right by the dog, our world's going to change for the better.
So you're not only teaching dogs, but Kingston taught you,
Without a doubt.
Helped you change your life.
Yep, without a doubt, helped me change my life. And I think the point underneath what you're saying too is a really good one. My job, I may be a teacher, as I like to call it, but what I really have to do is learn. I got to learn who the dog is, how to help the dog, how the dog learns, and then build a system around that dog. Like, what would Jerry Jones say? He's going to just get a bunch of the best people out there, and then he'll figure out how to work the system around them. John Wooden.
Yeah. Do you find that owners become a huge obstacle when trying to teach a dog? And obviously I don't want to badmouth anybody. I've seen some of the episodes, and it seems like sometimes the owners are the hopeless ones. So you have to teach them as well.
Yeah, I think probably the more appropriate way for me to frame that is that I find that the owner's thinking is their biggest obstacle. And sometimes they've had traumatic experiences, or they just have a lot of feelings around it. So it requires some skill. The human relations was not my strong point growing up, but it's actually if I can't meet a human where they're at, my chances of helping a dog are really slim.
Yeah. Talk about the issues you had. You can get as deep as you want, or don't get as deep as you want. Talk about the issues that you had and how your new life. We talked about how Kingston changed your life, but talk about the progression of how you turned your life around with the profession you chose to go forward with.
Yeah, thank you. So to be clear, I didn't do it alone. I don't do anything alone nowadays. I tried to run lone wolf for a long time, and that ended me up in jail on a top bunk with 4 guys giving me their peanut butter jelly sandwiches, and I weren't sure if they were trying to kill me or help me out. So I went from there to, I got to get some help around some things that I just can't control. And the parallel for that, and the real gift of that, is that I can go in I can meet anybody at this point. I used to be, shy and paranoid about pretty much everything. I can meet anybody anywhere and find a way to connect with them, and more importantly, see how I can help them if they need help. And so the parallel with that in dogs is I come in believing there are no bad dogs, and from that place, it puts me in a spot where I can be available to them, maybe in a way that somebody else has not been able to.
Well, I love the show, and I thank you for your time. Will we see it again? I know because of COVID, everything is up in the air right now, but will we see Dog Impossible again?
We will, and I'm actually happy to announce here publicly on your show that season 2 is set to come out in mid-July. I can't give you the date yet, but we're lining up, so we're probably less than 2 months away from it coming out. Nat Geo Wild, Disney Plus, Hulu, DirecTV, and anywhere else you can stream it or scam it.
I have almost all of those. All I did was binge over the
it was pandemic. Good for that. Good or bad for that, depending on what you're watching, I reckon.
How did you spend your time? What did you do?
Oh man, I spent my time with my kids. I've been working my ass off for years, and spend a morning with the kids, putting them to bed, and really looking at a lot of things personally, and how, if I get a chance to go back out there, how do I want to do it? So I'm in the middle of a massive pivot right now that frankly wouldn't have been possible if we hadn't just been disrupted and dislodged.
Yeah, it's been a tough year.
Yeah.
I want to go back and talk about the experience that you had during Halloween. Not the fact that your parents put you in a Richard Nixon mask, but the fact that you got bit by the dog. Yep. And you say that really messed you up and it led you down a bad path. May is Mental Awareness Month. And people should really take care of themselves. If you get attacked by a dog, was it right away that you felt I messed up, something happened and I can't keep control of my life? Or was it a gradual thing where like 10 years later you realized, God, what I'm doing now is because of when I was a kid?
That's a great question. And I'm so glad you put it in the context of, awareness about our own mental health. At the time, I was sure I did everything right. That's part of what made it so traumatic is I had the green light from my parents, the green light from the dog's owner. I thought I had the green light from the dog, and then I had this traumatic experience. And I don't think I realized until, God, it must have been like 20 years later. Wow. I knew that I was becoming afraid of dogs, but I was too ashamed to say that. And then I became a grown man, and I was definitely too ashamed to say. I'd see a dog and I would cross the street. That's where I was at, not 15 years ago. So I knew that that's what it came back to, but I didn't know how to get help around it.
Dogs can be scary. I had a few experiences. I never got bit, but I did have dogs jump on me. And I think people tend to forget that when you're like, 4 feet tall, 4.5 feet tall, a big German Shepherd or a big dog is, you're eye to eye with it. Dogs can be scary and intimidating. So I had a fear of dogs for a very long time. Even Cocker Spaniels. I can remember not wanting to be on the floor while my aunt's Cocker Spaniel was running around. Sweetest dog in the world. But I knew that dog had nails, and I knew that dog had teeth. And at any point it could attack me. So I went through that as well. Now I love animals. I have friends who have dogs. I grew up with dogs, a few dogs that were very tame, very calm. But I've changed my views, and really watching your show has helped.
Oh, thanks for saying that. How did you work through that yourself, being afraid and just growing through it?
I think it was owning dogs. So the dogs that traumatized me were neighborhood dogs. Whereas, I wouldn't want to go out if I knew a neighbor's dog was out. So, there were times where I would stay in while the other kids were playing. And I think it was until we actually owned our own dog, and I was able to spend more time with it, and I guess kind of get in the mind of a dog, see how they operate day to day and hour to hour, and the bond that not only you build with a dog, but the dog builds this bond with you as well.
Yeah.
and it's an amazing bond
Yeah. It's
with the right
unlike
dog.
anything else. Yeah. It's really something. And my kids, I have a son's 4.5, my daughter's a year and a half, and to watch them build these relationships with dogs, it's amazing. It's really amazing to be a part of it. And thankfully, they don't have to learn the way I learned.
Right, right.
I'm glad to hear that work through. And also I'm
Yeah,
glad to hear that work through for you. And you just said something that's important, I think, for a lot of people here, that getting a dog and caring for a dog can be healing in amazing ways. A lot of people I meet, they're first time dog owners, and they got bit when they were kids or they were afraid. And this dog is, I don't want to put it on the dog. This dog is their chance, but taking care of this dog is their chance to change that narrative.
yeah, absolutely. Some of our viewers right now are chiming in. You're a blessing. Do you accept that? Is that hard to accept?
Thank you, Joy. It's I think I accept it with the appropriate perspective, because I've been really blessed, and so if I have something that's useful out there, it's a credit to the large number of people that helped me get here and helped me stay in my lane.
I have a very dear friend who's watching right now that had an experience later in life, actually just a few years ago or a couple years ago, with a dog.
Mm,
And much like your situation as a child, she went through the same thing. What can we do at that age? And I'm putting you in the therapist
yeah.
seat, but what can we do as an individual who has had a traumatic experience with a dog later in life? What steps should we be taking?
It's such an important question, because this can linger and bleed into a lot of other things, particularly if there's shame concerned. So the thing we need to do out of the gate, whenever and wherever possible, is get to a qualified professional to help process that. Obviously, we would hope that the parents have the kind of support or that they need, or that they can be supportive. But I even see myself as a parent, and I think I don't really like the way I just talked to my son about him being afraid. So go to somebody whose focus that is. Fortunately, because we're virtual, there's a lot of access to a lot of things, that we may not have gotten to if we were face to face. And the other thing that I find really useful is, I'm going to promise you that you're not alone. I feel safe in making that promise. And so reach out, find other groups where people have had traumatic experiences specific to yours. And key to that is look for the solution, not just a dumping ground, but okay, this is what's going on, and how do we get through it? Don't do it alone.
And my friend Jen makes a good point here. She was bitten in the face at 21. That was rough, but the right dog
Wow.
can help you back.
Wow. I'm reading that. That's pretty stunning, Jen. And yeah, my condolences to you. That's not an easy thing to recover from.
And I'm trying to read this. I'm just going to throw this up from Raylene, and let's read it together.
Yeah.
I had to wear leather gloves when I first adopted Morgan because she bit me, and I tried to put her on a leash and things like that. Now she crawls on my lap, and she's a Doberman cross.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the best. Those are sometimes hard fought. I wish we didn't have to fight it, but
Yeah.
sometimes those are hard won battles. That's probably the best way to say it. Yeah, and I really appreciate the context that these two women are placing it in. Like, this was challenging and traumatic, and here we are. Here we are.
Just remember, like you said, there are no bad dogs.
Yep.
Well, hey, Matt, thank you so much. I'd love to catch up again once the show airs for its second season.
Yeah.
And the first season available on Disney Plus and Hulu and all the things that I have. I have too many. I think I have too many.
Thanks a lot, Ray. I sure appreciate reaching out and the invite, and thank you to people that are watching, and really glad to be part of the community and help out however I can.
All right. Well, take care of yourself, and hope to talk to you soon.
All right, you too. Take care, Ray. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.